to... Sei partita?
Sono partita, però la tua testa...
Niente,
Okay.
vicino, ok. Hi guys from all over the world. I'm Maria Chiara, let's see us and say hi. Raise your hand if it's your first Creative Morning Milan here. Of course. That's a few people. I'm happy. We are a great team. Here we've got Veronica, Lais, Grazia, and we are all female team. I don't know why. If you want guys to join us, because no. And I want to thank you, of course, Fioretto Ufficiali, Studio Atelier, Lino and Elena. It's a beautiful studio atelier. You can come here and do a lot of work, like shooting and private edits. It's a beautiful terrace open there. If you want to see there, I don't know if it's possible.
It is not raining. Yes.
Okay. And I want to say thank you also to our sponsor, Good Day Studio, to provide our cinema rolls today. So thank you very much. Okay, this month the theme is vibrant. And it was chosen by San Antonio, Texas, so not far away from here, and illustrated by Isabel Castro. So I dress like Mario because we talk about video games and games. So I just want to ask you, when was the last time you experienced something that made you feel more alive, more vibrant? Maybe when you hear the melody pulsing in your beat that makes you feel like, you know, your body move. Maybe when you locked eyes with a stranger in the metro, with a Israeli stranger in the metro. Or maybe when you lost track of time in a conversation by spirited laughter, you know? So it might not happen every day, this vibrant energy, but you can live a life full of energy and enthusiasm. So we call the master of this vibrant energy today a creativity mind. Our speaker, art director, illustrator, and game designer, Giovanni Nava.
Hi, my name is Richard. I am Giovanni, and I am a director, illustrator, and game designer. And I will talk to you a little bit about my story, not to fall into an ego trip, but because I think that would be somehow insightful to detect how a creative crisis strikes when you do a creative job, and how I dealt with it, changing completely my job from scratch and becoming a game designer. I have just 20 minutes, I guess, yep. So I will be a little bit of a rush, but because 20 minutes may be not enough to deep dive into this huge topic, but it may be more than enough to describe some clue about the topic. So, as I told you, I was an art director in advertising for many years, and I hated my job, and because it's awful. And I did it for many years, and then I decided to change my job completely and becoming a game designer, specifically tabletop role-playing game design, which is something really difficult to explain to your parents and to your grandmother, but my grandparents eventually died, so it was easy for me. Let's start from the beginning. I was a shy boy, and I still am a shy boy, but right now I have this defensive mechanism that I have not back in the days. So I remember this specific moment when I was in the kindergarten, and I saw this bunch of kids, and I really wanted to relate it with them, and I was struggling, so I was super shy, and then I decided to use my imagination to give myself a superpower. And then I chose a very weird superpower. It was the power to bend the gravity, to reach them more easily and to make myself stronger. So all of a sudden, the floor on which I stand on became like a wall. I like that wall. And from a grip to another, I was very, very committed. I tried to reach those kids. And I know it's not the cleverest idea if you want want to not feel like weird in front of your prospect new friends, but I was a kid after all. So that was when the magic happened. All of these kids started to, instead of having fun of me, started to try to mimic me, to play with me. And they started to imitate my moves and started playing with me in this make-believe kind of thing. So that day I found out 3 things that changed my life completely from that moment on. And the 3 things are that you never have to hide your creativity. You always have to express without being afraid of that. And that. The second one is that you always have to try to play if you have the chance, because when you play with somebody, when you link to the creativity of somebody else, you find a soft spot in an intimate part of their imagination, and you create a sharing storytelling. And this is a powerful instrument to relate with people. And the third thing is that creativity is actually a tool. Yeah. Creativity is a tool. And this is the basic of design thinking, actually. Because using creativity to solve real-life problems is the foundation of design thinking. And for that reason, I will share with you something that maybe you perfectly know, which is a scheme from Bruno Nari from his 1977 Fantasia, which describes perfectly how the creative process cycle enhances reality with the creative thinking. Basically, for Bruno Nari, and I totally agree, everything that has to relate to creative thinking is based on relationship between actual real-life data. And we collect through intelligence and we store into memory for the users. Once we decide to relate those data as designers or just as creative or just as kids, we use 3 parts of our memory: the fantasy, which is the most abstract part of our imagination, is something that really doesn't care about the function of something. It's just some abstract juxtaposition between things. The invention, which is the most scientific part, is based on the function and just cares about how something that you invented can work in real life. And the creativity, which is this magical blend that make a relationship between fantasy and invention. So all these 3 are pretty abstract kind of construction, like something that you do with your mind, but you can project on the reality through imagination. You start sketching, you start giving your ideas some voice, and then once you do that, you start producing new things. And once you produce these new things and put that in the outside world, you start creating new data, new creative data that other people and yourself can use to enhance future creative acts. So the more you imagine, the more data you have. And the more data you have, the more you can imagine. It's a great mechanism. And this is very clear when you're a child. Because when you're a child, you use the imagination and the creativity as an understanding tool. Because you have few data, so you're trying to project everything that you don't know. So everything you know to everything that you don't know so well. So for instance, a small ball is a child of the big ball, because you have few concepts. You know mom and you try to figure out the reality all around you. The paradox is that growing up, somehow this thing fades away a little bit. And it's absurd, it's a paradox, because as we say in the scheme before, the more data you have, the more tools you have to be more creative. I think that there are many reasons why this paradox happens. It's a huge speech maybe for another time, but I think that one of main reason why this toxic habits happens is that growing up, creativity becomes something more related to entertainment and marketing reason rather than understanding. And this is a bummer. And I somehow understood that when I was a child, because I promised to myself that I will never be like that when I grow up. I will never quit playing, I will never quit imagining, because it feels like absurd. The more I can know from reality, the more I can create. So it was a paradox for me back then, but then I forgot it and I betrayed myself. And how I betrayed myself, trying to translate this pollution, trying to translate my creativity into a job. So I became a director in advertising, which at the time seemed like a good idea. It's my point of view. It's debatable. But for me, it's like at that time it was super interesting. It was like madman kind of thing. Everything was cool. Everything was super exciting. Everything was somehow super creative and interesting. People with tattoos, making things. It was pretty nice. But I started to figure out that actually, at the end of the day, being working in advertising for me was the last creative thing that I could do in life, for many reasons. I tried to pinpoint 4 of the reasons, which are these. I think that advertising works in the specific for marketing reason is designed to destroy creativity instead of empowering. So to begin with, you're being creative for other people, which of course is something you have to do. You're getting paid to do it, but it's something that in the long run makes you, less focused on your own creative insight. You're in this constant craving for other people's interpretation of reality. You're trying to figure out how things can work for other people rather than can work in the real world. So that's a bummer. Dealing with subjectivity. Design has his own strict rules, which I love. But most of the times people don't care about that, and you have to deal with totally subjective feedbacks. So even this thing puts you in this constant craving. You have to follow other people's expectations rather than what is good for design. You're constantly racing against time. You have deadlines, which is good. It's work after all, but those deadlines are enemies for creativity, because creativity needs time, needs a slow pace, needs inspiration, needs something that flows naturally. And the shit is that those deadlines are always marketing related, are related to money, not to the actual outcome of the design. So that leads me to the last point, which is the budget. You always struggle for the budget, which is normal, even in this case, but it pushes you in a position in which you constantly search for shortcuts. You need a shortcut. You need to find a way to find the most affordable way to make things which is okay for somebody else in a short amount of time with a short amount of money. As we all know, this is the result. So I decided to change my life. I was really frustrated by all this thing. So I decided to change my life from scratch completely, and I was scared as fuck because right now it's very difficult to split your identity from your job title. especially when you're around 40. So you are what you do in your life. Even when you know somebody new, what do you do for a living is one of the first sentences you have. So I was scared to lose a little bit of myself, to feel like a quitter because I quit my job. But as you know, I have the power to bend gravity, so I wasn't scared for that leap anymore. And I tried to change my life completely, becoming something else. I tried with illustration, which I do. But all of a sudden, I found out this game design contest for a total act of serendipity, which is has this brief, and I submitted to this contest. The brief was to do a game playing with any kind of role-playing game system that can fit into one page. As a designer, that was super intriguing. I didn't know so much about tabletop role-playing game, but I was intrigued in design. So I tried to do that, and I invented this word, which is called the postcard from the Sofaverse. I tried to invent a word in which people can actually play stories inside something that I actually built up. And that was a game set in the depths of the sofa once you lose your remote control from the TV. And the depth of the sofa is a super weird word populated by all the objects you lost during the years inside the sofa cushions. So it was a pretty good game. This work was very fun. And I won the contest. So yeah, we have some copy of it. I won the contest, and I that day thought that it was possible. It was possible to do something and be recognized for that. I felt in charge of my own creativity, like I never did in advertising, even after like a dozen years. And so I found an editor and a publisher, and I started to create games. I started to create a lot of games, and like this, and that, and it was super fun. I was more poor than before, but I was more aligned with my own creativity. So let's deal with role-playing games. I didn't know so much, but right now I'm pretty much an expert. And so role-playing game is something that began with Dungeons and Dragons in the 70s, during the 70s, but that is actually related to something very, very ancient, which is the sharing storytelling of the cavemans, around the bonfire. So it was, it is a sharing storytelling. You and a bunch of friends just live a lot of adventures together. You cooperate, so it's perfect for bonding, especially for a shy boy like me. And you share a story in which the direction that story made is totally dependent from character's action, and this gives you a lot of freedom. There is, of course, a set of rules, but you're free to imagine and to be a child again, and to make believe, like when you were a child, and to confront yourself with other people's imagination. That's soft spot that I said before, and that is amazing for me because it unlocks something more natural from your creative mind, from your imagination. It's a little bit difficult at the beginning because you have to step back from your adultness, but once you get a spin, it's amazing. There are many kind of games which are not specifically related to fancy settings or some nerdy stuff. It's actually a pretty clever design kind of path. For instance, this one is Dialect. It's a game of shared storytelling in which you and your friends can use your imagination and some design principles to invent a new language. And at the end of the game, you have a new language to share with your friends, which is an interesting exercise. This one, Alice is Missing, which is a silent role-play game. So you don't speak with your friends. you interpret some characters, and you have to. It's like a thriller. You have to find these friends that are missing, and you only can relate to your friends through text messages with your phones, which is super interesting. Wonderful, which is super nice because it's you know, it brings up to you this part of the super cute fable words from your childhood, and relates you with travels and feelings, and it's super cute. And this one, which is super funny, is Green Oaks, is a simulator of retirement home. You roleplay as a bunch of crazy old craps that are living in this retirement home, and it's folded like a retirement home flyer. It's super nice. But as you can see, many kind of games which are actually super clever in the design, and that lets even aesthetically, even from a design perspective, that lets you imagine a lot and experiment a lot. It's really interesting. It's really more adventure than driving. So basically, how is it to return playing when you're an adult? Is, as I told you, it was weird at the beginning. It was a bit clunky because playing is something that you have to feel naturally, and it's not always like that. Somebody really forgets about how to play. And you feel actually like Robin Williams when Returns to Neverland in Hook. It's really hard at the beginning, but then you really fly, and it's nice to find yourself in the exact spot you left when you were a child. With the exact same kind of creative path that you used back in the days, but with the whole new data that you have from your real life. So it's a nice blending between the adult and between your inner child, and between your inner child and other people's inner child. So I will leave you with one question that I asked to myself after all this trip. That was, are you happy now? Are you happy now that you changed your life from scratch? And the answer is no, I'm not happy. But I feel authentic right now. I feel totally connected with myself and my creativity. And that is the best thing that I can actually do for that show. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, guys. Okay, we have some questions, or we can also some questions drinking the last coffee, and a lot of cinnamon rolls. So you have to eat. I'm like my grandma. Thank you very much. Another close. Last question.
So I attended a lot of boring to building activities lately.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, that's my concern.
Mm-hmm.
So I really imagine a lot of games that can activate a more insightful building activity with people sharing no common ground. Do you have any suggestions or stories about doing games with your colleagues that maybe you don't get along with, or they're not your friends? So
no, it's an interesting fact because many times you play with people that you know. And it's of course super fun because you have your inside jokes and you know each other. But most of the times you play with people that you actually know. For instance, in the fairs or in building activities. So it works pretty the same. You have just these 10 minutes of setting things up or buffering between you and your friend. But the magic of that, is that every scheme, every distance, even with people that is totally different from you, just evaporate the moment you start imagining together. You start collaborating. Many of these role-playing games are collaborative games. So you don't fight with other people. You collaborate to solve something, to find a clue, to find the friend that is missing, to survive from a dungeon. You name it. But that is super interesting because it works every time. Every time. During the fact, I deal with people that are completely different. I have a different background. I don't came from this kind of Lord of the Ring nerdish kind of background, which I like, but I'm not from that kind of background. So I constantly find myself settled even with these completely different people, and that's the magic that you find even when you are a child. You relate with anybody in the kindergarten, on the elementary school. You always relate with almost anybody because you are open to that shared story. You quit doing that. You start relate to your filter bubble, to your schemes once you grow up. And that's okay.
Is there any upcoming events in which we can play with you?
Coming. I still don't know.
We can set up.
We can absolutely set up. We can do a session.
Yeah, we can do a session for creative mornings.
Please.
Many creative evenings.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, let's do it.
We can
It's
do
really
that.
fun.
Okay.
Another question. What's the main energy drive you get from your job or your passion? It's the idea, the results, or the interaction with people, or everything?
I like two things from the creative process in this kind of work. One is the fact that I can constantly jump from something that is more related to illustration to something that is more related to design to something that is more related to writing. It's something really, really complete. It's something renascimental. But the most energizing thing is the fact that you don't build a story. You build a setup for a game. So other people will play the game. Other people will live stories that are their own in a world that you created, talking to people that you invented. And so when somebody told you, I played that thing, that guy killed me, I don't know. I got really excited because I felt like my own creative ideas, bring life to other stories, which are over my control. It's like super inspiring. Okay.
I've got a question.
But
For maybe younger people that want to join in this kind of games industry or games, what's your suggestion?
as a worker or as a player?
As a worker.
As a worker, is just to is an editorial line of work which is pretty recent. So many people are searching for capable people to build up some new stories or new shared groups to work. So maybe sometimes seeing what are the main publishers and just trying to sketch a game and send them could work. It would work with me that I didn't have any kind of contact, any kind of relationship. I just go to a fair and with my prototype, and I talk to the people, which are super chill because they are still they're still new, so they don't feel like stockats.
Yeah. For the international, hard to
they don't feel super cool. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, you've got also the postcard from Softverse. There's some part in Italian and in English. I don't know if you don't know, you can switch maybe the language. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, Giovanni. Thank you for your questions. And I'm really And the next creative mornings is creative evenings on the rooftop of Spaces Parini with Ellen Creativity.